In the first session, we talked about some of the tools that we're going to be using, and then we looked at some of the resources where we get pictures, where we get font. We have not really talked about them, but we are now aware that we'll be needing some of those resources eventually. And we talked about some of the websites where we can get inspiration for projects, right? Inspiration for projects, that if you are thinking of anything you want to build, so if you are looking at how will somebody build it, so like now if you go to Behance or you go to Dribble, right? So when you visit either of these places, you can just, if you are thinking of how to build a music playing app, right? A music playing application. When you go to Behance, you can type music player or music playing application there, right? So like now you say music player. When you type it, you will see the different designs that are related to music player. It will give you ideas of how to build your own music players, right? So here, this is what Drupal have. Let me see Behance. So that is essential. So look at here now. If you look at this music player now, this is one music player, and this one shows us an approach to playing music, right? You are seeing here, so you can see like how they lay out the content of the music player. So you can see the play button, you can see like a list of players, right? You can search by mood, that's if you are excited, if you are sad, whatever. Then you can search by artist, you can search by podcast, etc. That is for this one. So that will give you an idea that okay, this is one way I can go to approach it, right? You can check for another one. So like this one now. So this one now this is a player, right? This one is particular about the, the artist, right? It's showing that people can download, right? The song. Yeah, this one is allowing people to download the song, right? Unlike the other one that was. So you can see in the second section here, we just want to introduce the syntax, where we want to try to write code here in the second section here. So what we want to do is this. So in your what's it called? In your VS Code, this is our VS Code now. So in my VS Code, we are going to create a new folder. So in your file, just go to File, New Folder, New Open. Okay. Just do Open File.
Open file.
Yeah, Open File. Now in this place, you can go to any folder. Are you okay with it being here? You're okay with it being here? Or you can just go to the folder that you want to save your project. What? No, don't close it, page. Just okay. You want to create a folder. That is one thing to do. Just go to that folder, create your folder in the place that you are comfortable that you want your project to be. Don't put space. Don't put. It's a project, so don't put space. Don't put any character. Just name of. You can use multiple names. We can come to multiple names. No, I did not say you should name it project. You can name it anything. You can name it music player if it's music player that you want to build anything. Just anything. You can say first project. Let's call it first project first. So okay. So you have created your own. This is my own now. So I want to open my own folder, right? So my own folder is inside Torilo first project. So my own is first project, right? You have also created your own first project. You can save it, you can discard it, doesn't matter. Have you created your own first project? So once you create it now, you should be able to see it, first project here like this. First project, your own is first project, are we? No wala. So this first one, this is the Explorer, this first one that we have here is the Explorer. It allows you to see all your files, right? Once you toggle it, it will go away. Then it will toggle it back, it will come. It allows you to see all your files. Currently, it is empty because you don't have any file there. So if you want to create a file, when you open it, your folder is empty. So you can click on this one. Then you create a new file. So I've shown you that you can do Ctrl-N to create a file. This is another way to create a file. So here you now type the name of your file. So you type your name now, .html. So you type your name, .html. You have typed your name, .html. Okay, cool. So that is our first file, right? We have it in our project. So this is our Explorer. It allows us, so here you use what? New file. Here what? New folder. This one is to refresh your Explorer. In case you put something in your Explorer and it's not showing here, then once you refresh this one, it will go and find it and put, and you are sure that it is there, but it is not showing, right? You can just refresh your Explorer to show it. Are you with me? Okay. So this one is to search. Maybe you are looking for, maybe you have plenty folders, plenty files, and you are looking for something particular. You don't know where it is. So you can come here and then search. When you search, it can go through all those places and find it for you. Right? That is the job of search. This one is version controlling. So we'll talk about what version controlling is, and now we can apply it, right? Eventually, but that is the job of that place. For version control, here we are going to be using the Git version controlling system, right? That's what we are going to be using. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, so this section is for GitHub, and we'll talk about it eventually, right? But not now. As we progress in the class, we will look at it and discuss it. This section if you want to run tests on your project. So if you write a project and you want to confirm that what you have said it should do is what it is doing and it is not doing another thing. So we'll talk about this too when we are talking about tests. Here is an extension. So this place, press this place. So if you notice, you will see that I'm having some things here, 1, 2, 3. You don't have it, right? This last one is for what? Extension. That means if there is something here that you need externally, you can add it. Like now, I need this thing. Unused export to dos. So me, I'm using this to dos, right? I use it. So what I use it for is, I use it for if I want to do something, like I want to write code now. Before I write anything, I'll first of all type it out. These are all the things I want to do for today. So this to do, that's the job of that thing, right? Or maybe now, I'm writing something, I'm writing a code, right? And I need to go from here, right? I need to maybe take a break, 30-minute break, 1 hour break, right? And then come back. So I will but I'm currently working on something. So I can just say to do, type the thing that I'm doing, right? So that when I come back and I check my to do here, I will see the list of where did I stop? What am I doing? What should I be doing, right? It will just list it out. So I can just click on it and then it will take me to that place. You understand? That is why I have this to do. So you too, you may want it, right? The one that I want you to install is live server. This one. Just here, type live server. No, live, L-I-V-E. Live server. Yes, that's the second one. Live server. So the live server like this. So it's plenty, just pick one, anyone. Live server. Yes. Yes, click on install. So live server, I have already installed my own. So what live server does is that you will see shortly what it does, right? I will show you what it does. But essentially what it does is that when we are building a website, right, it will hold that site for us in place, right? So that we don't have to be going through the process of reloading the servers every time, right? You want to build something and then you want to check what you have done. And then, so once you save it, then you have to go through the process of reloading. Live server will hold it. It will run our program in a local host system and then allow us to be able to see. I know you don't understand what I'm saying now, but you see, once you go through the process, you understand essentially what I'm saying. So just install live server, right? If you want to install to do too, but you understand the idea of what's it called? Of this extension stuff. You understand the idea of this extension stuff? Okay, good. So that is where we are. So let's go back to our Explorer, right? Let's go back to the Explorer. So in our Explorer now, we have this payload.html, which is our really the first, our first introduction to what's it called? To HTML, right? So to build a website, we need three things. We need three primary things. Obviously, we have seen some of those websites. We have seen plenty complex things, right? So let's, as we are using this, let's open side by side one of those websites. So we have a Abby, right? Piggy Bank, right? What else? I think we saw career-wise. We saw what was it called? We saw one pay stack. Yeah. Okay. Pay stack. Yeah. Then we saw inflow. Then I did not check, but let's check this one. Flutter wave design. Okay, so let's look at each of these guys, and as so we can just look at, like, investigate them, right, and see how it works for us. Are you with me? Okay, so look at this side now. You will agree with me that we have just we have this, what's it called, text, right, and then a subtext, and then we have this one that is moving, right? We have this one that is moving. But before we can achieve all this, we must look at what is the primary text. The primary things is text, right? And then we have this thing, right? So what are the things that make up this? For a website, we have three primary things that make up a website. Primary. Obviously, you can now expand it, right? Number one is HTML. So as we have below.html, we can have below.css, right? And then we can now have below. I'm creating another file here. Then we can now have below.js, right? Wait, below.js. So we have, so you are creating yours. The the HTML file. This is an HTML file, right? So HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The HTML file, are you with me? The analogy I can use here is, if you have the skeleton of a human being, or the analogy of a anatomy of a human being, right? The first thing is we have the skeleton, right? The skeleton will provide what? Structure to provide the frame, right? That every other thing will what? We stand on. After you have the skeleton, then you now have what? The flesh, the muscle, right? That will give shape, That will give shape, right? That will give robustity, that will give color, vibrancy, right? That will give diversity, right? All skeletons may look the same, right? If you look at this skull and this skull of two human beings, they may look the same, right? But one may be a white man, another one will be a black man, right? Another one will be an Indian with brown color, right? Do you get? That brown color stuff, that one that is changing, is what? Is the CSS. That one that is making it to change is the CSS. The HTML is the structure. The HTML is the structure, right? You are with me? Is the structure. The JS is the one that now determines if the black man You know it's now black because it is HTML. It's not just man. It's black man because we have added CSS to it, right?
Yeah.
So, will the black man be able to jump 6 meters or 7 meters, right? What can the black man do? Will the black man run the fastest marathon in the world, right? What can that black man do? Functionality, that is the job of JS. So this is like the easiest way to separate what each of them do. So you can see now that without HTML, we cannot have JavaScript. You cannot do something without the man. And if you have the man, and the man does not have style, what is the essence of the thing that you want to do, right? All of them have different functionality. They are as equally important, right? They are all equally important, and they have to work together, right? It is possible that you have a man, that's the HTML, or a woman, sure I understand. And then we have the CSS, right? And the person
to use that one last time to achieve this thing themselves. To do those functionality, is it possible to use the style, the CSS?
No. Like what?
Everything works together.
Eventually, you will see that. So the text here, this hello that we are seeing here, is the HTML, is the form, is the structure, is the thing that is the text, right? It's content. To make it bold, it is bold, right? That is the CSS. That's the style. To make it bold. To make it center, it's still CSS. It's centering it, position, right? That's the CSS, right? It is not doing anything like this. Is it doing anything? It's just static here. It's just bold. Is it doing anything? No. So the only thing on this one is what? HTML and CSS, right? Now, consider it with this one here. This one here. What do we have here? We just have an image, right? The content is what? Image. Notice now, the content is what? Image, right? And they are being separated, so we have several images. But the image is moving. That is the difference between this one and this one. This one is not doing anything, right? So this one is moving. So the movement can be triggered by what? By JavaScript. Assuming the image is just standing there looking at us and we are looking at it, right? There is just HTML, CSS. But there is movement. So we know that some way, somehow, JavaScript is involved, right? Obviously, we can do it like JavaScript is not involved. But primarily, JavaScript is involved, right? Do we understand why each of them are equally important? So we write each of them differently. So you first of all have to write the HTML because we have to write what? The form, right? So let's do the form. So let's look at how do we write HTML. HTML follows what we call tags. HTML follows what we call tags, right? A tag, or you can call it an element. So we say HTML element, or we say HTML tag. Now, all HTML are of this form, are usually of this form. Don't save. Are usually of this form. So when you want to start, you start with HTML like this, right? You start with HTML. Do you see what I type?
Yeah.
How I typed it? So you start with HTML, right? So this means that everything will be inside. Now, first thing is what? I want you to understand the syntax, how I've used it. This is what we call an HTML tag. It has what? This is what is called an anchor bracket. Anchor bracket, right? So you have an anchor bracket. You have a beginning of the tag and the end of the tag. Or you say opening tag and what? Closing tag, right? Or the beginning of the tag and the closing of the tag, right? You flow with me. Now, because we are using VS Code, it is VS Code that is doing autocomplete for us. Normally, you are supposed to use your hand to write everything. But when I do HTML like this, you see, I just do HT, and then there is an autocomplete for me. And then when I close it, it writes the closing tag again for me, right? It is what? VS Code that is doing that. Yes, you can use that way too. just press enter. Can you see?
It's
It will add the looping and closing for you too. So you can do it this way, where instead of even doing the anchor tag and wasting your time, you can just do HT, press enter. You are still cool. All those autocomplete is the job of what? VS Code, right? It's not part of HTML. HTML is for you to write this. So when you write HTML and then you close it, it means that what? It means that you want to write HTML. You want to write an HTML, right? You want to build a website, right? So all your website will be inside this place. Will be inside this place, right? Are you with me?
Yeah.
Now, the next thing is now you now have to, so your HTML. So this HTML, the website, all the websites that we have been visiting is divided into two. The things you can see and the things you cannot see. This one you can see it, Abby. Now, what did you remember about? Because this HTML, who is going to read it? The browser is going to read it. Since the browser is going to read it, it means that you must give the browser enough information about how to read this file. Yes? Browser, I want to write HTML. Browser, this HTML that I want to write, it is only people that speak Mandarin that can read it. Maybe you have visited a website that they will be writing French there. So it means that that website is written for what? People that speak French. They don't write it for you. So the browser cannot, so you have to tell the browser explicitly that the content of this page is for what? French speaking people, right? Or it's for French speaking people and English speaking people. Or it's for what? People that speak Mandarin in China, right? So you have to tell all those information because you cannot just write, right? You have to also inform, making the more information you give the browser about how the browser should read your page, right? The more the browser is able to read your page. You flow with me? So an HTML file is divided into two. One, you tell the browser there is a section called the head. And then there's a section called the body. Both of them are inside where? The HTML. The head, what is the job of the head? To inform the browser how the browser should read the page. Inform the browser on, inform or instruct, like giving instruction to the browser on how it should read the content of the page. Are you with me? You are flowing with me. So that is the head, right? So everything inside between this head now, you cannot see it. It is not for you. It is not for the user. It is for what? The browser. So it is, you are just instructing. Now everything you can see, this is body or is not body, it's body, right? Everything you can see, all the things you can see are inside what? The body. So you see how we first initially separate what the browser can, what is inside an HTML. So generally, an HTML is divided into what? The head, what you cannot see, and the body, what you can see. So we call it, you can say body or you can say content, the content of the page. What the browser will render to the user, what the browser will load for the user to interact with, right? Okay. Now, one of the things that we want to tell the browser about our website is the title of the website. Look at it. What's the title of this website? At the top here, Flutter Web Design. This one is what? Flutter Web Design Google search. Inflow Finance, Base Stack. All this is what we call the title of a website, right? So how will the browser read? So it is, that one is not part of the content, right? So you say title, right? So in the title you now put the, what is it called? Bellows website, right? So you are informing the browser that the title of this web page is what? Bellows website. You are flowing with me? You are flowing with me? Okay. Now, in the content, currently, this is our website, Abby. So let's even check it out now. So to check it out, we'll go to our web page. Yeah. Let's see it. The Relo first project. So this is it. What is it? Bello.html, Abby? This is it, Abby? Bello.html. So we can open it with any browser because it's an HTML file. So I will open it. Let me just right click, open with any browser. Which one do I first see? Okay, Google Chrome. Let me just use Google Chrome. So this is my Google Chrome. This is our browser. Look at the top here. What do you see? Bello's website, right? I'm coming. Let me remove it so that it's only standing alone. Bello's website, right? What do you see on the page? It's empty. Nothing is there. Why? Because why is it empty? It is empty. Sorry. It is empty. Sorry, let me. Okay. So it is empty because in which place will our content be? In the body. And in the body, we have not put anything there. There's nothing in our body content, right? So that is why this is empty. So let's put something first, right? So that we can show something here, right? So the first tag that can render, if you want something to show, you have to put it in the what? Body, right? So we have plenty tags. So once you open an anchor tag like this, it will list out all the possible tags for you, right? Can you see there are plenty? So the one we want to first of all look at is H1. H1 is for what? Header, title. Header like this, right? So let's look at now. If I say H1 is, let's just put, so if you, as I said, it's for title, right? So let me say the title, what we want to do here is, what should we do? Name of countries, right? Name of countries. Let's use name of countries. So look at here. Can you see I've saved it? I've saved, because once you write, you must save it. If you don't save it, there's no way the browser will know that you have written something. Now that I've written, I can reload here, right? When I reload it now, can you see name of countries that I put here? It is because it is what? H1. That is why it is big like this. And it is what? Bold. H2. So we have what? H1 to H6. How many do we have? H1 to H6. So this is what? H2, Abby. Let me do H2. H2, Abby. What I want you to see is the reason why we have H1 to H6. They are of different sizes and weight. Right? Now look at here. I've saved it, right? So I can reload here. So when I reload now, can you see? So you will now be the one to know which of the heading tags do you want to use. So like this one we'll be using, if you go to Punch now, you'll be able to identify which one is H1, which one is H2. Because in Punch, you use it to draw attention, right? You will use it to draw attention. So like look at here now, if I, this one will be like H5 or so, or we'll come here. Now look at here. This here is an H1, right? Usually you will use this because you want it to draw the biggest attention. Once it draws the biggest attention, no thanks. They don't have any other stuff here. But a lot of things is going on here. You get our flow. You get our flow. So that's why we have H1 to H5. H1 tag, right? Apart from the H1 tag, we have another tag. We have plenty tags, as I've said. We have a paragraph tag. Paragraph is for what? If you have plenty text, right, that you want to copy. Like now, that place that we just went to now, Punch, Abby, that we saw plenty text, right? Let's copy this section. How do you represent this whole text? Right? You cannot put it inside H1 now. It will be too bold. So here we can put it inside a paragraph. It doesn't matter. It's long, Abby. It's long. So you can cut it. It doesn't. It is not space sensitive, right? So you can cut it. If you don't want it to be too long, you can just cut it. It will not, that space that I'm cutting, it will not, it's not like as if it will go and be cutting in the stuff. So if I come back here and reload, can you see it? So you see the difference between an H1 tag and a paragraph. Paragraph allows us to what? To contain multiple text, right? As we have paragraph, we have plenty. So I've shown you image. So let's look at image now. How to put this kind of image. Look at this website now. This is an image, Abi. This is an image. What if I want to show this image on our own website? What do we use? So we can use the image tag, img. You are following me, sir?
Yes.
img. So you can use the image tag like this. So the image tag, you now tell it where is the image, right? So this is the first time I want you to see something. There's something interesting here that is happening here. In this one now, we just open the tag, we close the tag. We open the tag, we close the tag. Here now, this image, it requires an information. You cannot just put image like this. Nothing will show, right? If you reload now, nothing will show. Because you have not told it what image to show. So it means that there are some tags that require special information to work, right? So those special information, we call them what? Attributes. The attribute of a tag, attribute of a tag or an element, attribute of a tag or what? Element. So you can say attribute of an element, or you can say attribute of a tag. So this image now, it requires what? It requires the source. The source is what? Where the image is. So you will say the what? The source attribute of what? Of image element. Right? This is an attribute of what? Of the image. Right? So in attribute, you have what? The thing, the attribute, and then the value of the attribute. Right? Are you following? This is the first time you are seeing what? The image tag. A tag with what? An attribute. Right? You'll be seeing more attributes as we proceed, right? So now we have already said attribute. So I don't have an image. So let me just copy this image and use it on our website. Okay? So I will come back here. So here I will just put that URL of that image like that. I'll drop it here like this. Right? Once I drop it here and I save this file, you cannot cut this one. Or this one is not space sensitive. This one is space sensitive. If you cut it, voila, because you have put an extra character between there, right? You understand? So you cannot cut this one. You have to be like that. So here, let's come back here. When you come back here and you reload, it will show. Because now you have what? Added, what's it called? The link to this image, right? But this image is not our image. I copied it from where? Online, from a website. What if we now have image on our own system? So let me go back first. So the easiest thing to do now is, in this folder now, let's find an image. One of those images we downloaded earlier, right? Where is it? Let's use Jeremy. But these images were large that time. They were super large, eh? It will be super large here. So first project, I'll just drop the image here. I'll rename it to Jeremy, right? Let me rename it. So I'll rename it to Jeremy, just ordinary Jeremy, right? Isn't it? So let's create another. So Jeremy is here now. So let's create another image tag. So what I want to differentiate now is that, one, you can have multiple tags, as many tags as you want on your page, you know. So here, it will take a source. Now the source is now, they are on the same folder. It is not outside, it is with us on the same folder. So when it is on the same folder, you must tell it first that we are on the same folder. Do you see what I did? Full stop slash. What does that mean? We are on the same folder. It is not anywhere else. It is in this same folder that I am inside. The folder where this HTML, this below.html is, that is the same folder that the thing I want to find is. So don't forget, we are on the same folder, right? So when we are on the same folder, what am I looking for? Jeremy. So it will know that. So the browser, what you are telling the browser is, the browser should not go anywhere. You should just go to the same folder and look for jeremy.jpg. When you come back here, you have to what? Reload. When you reload, You see, it's big. It's big. It's big. It's a big file. It's a big file, right? So we now have to call in another attribute, right? As many as, and now we know that what this one is big, so we need to make it what small, right? So we need to this image now, this image tag now, we need to make it small. How can we make it small? What do we need to reduce it? It's big now.
We style it.
We are not styling yet. We need to reduce it. We can style it to reduce it. Yes, we can style it. So what we can do is what? Set the width and the height is too big, abi? So we can set this image tag takes parameter takes attribute width and height. So I can set the width. I will say 200 pixel. I can set the height 200 pixels. So it forms a square. Sure? So when you come back here, it's big. So let's reload it. It's now small. 200 by what? 200. So you can see that one element can take what? Gazillions of what? Attributes. As many attributes as you want. You cannot put first two. You cannot put what's it called? Oh, you can actually now. This one now, if it is smaller, that's the issue. You can put width and height here, right? Width and height to limit the width and the height of that thing, if it's big or too high. So, but you get now that this one too has taken attributes, right? So it has taken 3 attributes. It has taken the source attribute, it has taken the width attribute, it has taken the height attribute. You flow? Cool. So yeah, now look at this now. We have built a very simple website now. Obviously, we are still going to talk about some other concept. But you are flowing with me. Okay. So let me reduce this. Let me reduce this page. So we have this. So I'm just introducing you to be familiar with some tags, some popular tags. So let's look at some other tags. Input. The input tag is the tag that you use to collect information from your user. What kind of information can you collect from your user? When you go to a website and they say, give us your information, what kind of information do they ask you for?
Data, man.
And what kind of data?
Names.
Name. They can ask you for your name.
Email.
They can ask you for your email. Now, all those things that you are saying, they are types of data. So you have to say, this input now, it will take what? Attribute. The kind of attribute is what? Type. What type of data do you want to collect from your user? Is it password or email?
So sorry, this image tag.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a closing tag.
Yeah, it doesn't have a closing tag. So it is a self-closing tag. So like here now, this one is not a self-closing tag. The reason why it's not having a self-closing tag is the one that you don't have to put anything in between it. Right? Like here now, if you open it, you need to put a value between it, then you can close it, right? But this one, we have already finished here. By here now, there's nothing again, right? That's why there's no need for, you can do it actually. You can do /img, it will work, but it is useless, right? That's why we make it what? Self-closing, just self-closing. So we are talking about input, right? So in the input, when you save it and you reload now, you see it is there. But you have to be specific. What do you actually want your user to type? Your user can type anything. Have you not done it? Have you not seen where where you will say users to type their name and they will be typing their password? Or maybe you ask your user for the password and they'll be typing their name, right? You have to restrict it, right? So here you tell them the type. What type of data do you want your user to enter? So the type here is what? It's an attribute of what? Input element. So what is it? I want to collect color. I want to select the color, right? As I put the type now, I want you to see what will happen to that place. this is what it is already, without type. When I reload it, look at what will happen. Do you see it changes? When I click on it, it brings us what? Color. It is now an input type of what? Color. Isn't it? Let's look at another one. So leave this one alone. Let's change the type again to, let's say, to date. This one, when I reload here, what do you see here? Date, right? When I click down here now, it will allow me to do what? To select a date. So I can pick a date now. Can you see? I can pick the date in the past, pick a date in the future. You flow with me. Now, what do you notice here? Do you see that everything is just on one line? It's just on one line like this, right? Isn't it? But I don't want it to be on one line. I want these ones to be down here, right? So we have what we call inline tags, right? Inline tags. Inline tags and block tags. Are you flowing with me? So we have inline tags and block level tags. What you see here is what? They are all on the same line. That is what? Inline, right? Look at, I want you to see something. Notice something. No? When I did HTML, H1, when I put this paragraph, where did the paragraph go? Next line. It means that the H1 is a block tag. Once you use H1, nothing can be in front of it again. Nothing can be here. It will block that line. That is what? A block tag, a block element, right? The paragraph too is also what? A block element. Because after I put the paragraph, nothing is coming here. Everything went down. But unlike image is allowing things to stay beside it, right? So it is what? It is an inline tag. When it is not blocking the whole place, right? So yes, input 2 is inline. But now, if you want to turn inline to what? To block, right? You have to use what? You have to wrap it. You have to wrap it inside something. It is naturally what? Inline. But you want it only it to stand alone. So you have to put something around it to prevent other people from what? Staying beside it, right? So wrapping is the job of what? Is the job of a div. Div does not do anything particularly. It works with other people. It cannot do it by itself. So its job is what? To wrap things for others. So if I wrap it now, if I wrap those two, if I wrap it here, right, and I come here, then I reload, right? Because I have wrapped it, div is blocked style, right? It's a block level element. So since I have wrapped it, it means it doesn't want anything to be before or after. It should go on its own line. So div, so that is why you'll be seeing div in a lot of code. Div is not it. It's not the div that they actually want, but they want it to wrap another thing.
So that means that if I want this guy, these two now to be on 2 lines.
Yeah, 2 lines.
And if I wrap the 2 to be on 2 lines.
We have to wrap it separately.
Separately.
So this one I will wrap it again. So if I put div here and wrap the second one, then I reload now. They are on different lines. So you have to wrap it separately, right? So you see that now we are using div will be like the most important, the thing that you'll be writing the most, because it will just, you'll be plenty things you need to. Its job is what? It's a container. It's a container. It will wrap other things. It is not, it by itself it cannot work. It works in tandem with what? Other things. So when you say what is a div, we use it. Somebody can define a div as a what? As a divider. It is dividing stuff, right? But its real job is what? To wrap. To what? To contain. That's its real job, right? It is not the only one that is wrapping, that is containing. There is another one called span, right? Span too. The job of span is to what? To wrap, to contain, The difference between wrap and span now is that it is not a divider. It is not what? It is not a block level style. It is an inline style. So look at now. This is our image, Abi. If I put span and I put wa here, right? And I save it, isn't it? If I come here and I reload, can you see it's on the same line? It's a wrapper, right? It's a wrapper, but it's still on the same line as this. So you may be wondering, why do we now need a wrapper when it's actually not doing anything? You know, I can just put and it will still be there. So why do you now need a wrapper? The reason why you need a wrapper is because of if you want to specially single out that wabawiwa. For example, look at this whole thing now. Maybe inside this whole thing, this criticized, I want to single it out and give it another color out of everything, right? I can just inside criticize here now. I can do what? Span it. If I span it now, it will still be like as if nothing is there. Nothing will happen. It will still be there. But now criticize has been singled out. I can now go to inside CSS, collect that span, and give it a background color. So what? It is now different from every other. So here now, let me just show you. So here now, you know that this edge is where we describe what should happen, right, on the page. How should the browser see it? So that is why I am coming back into the head to use what? Style, right? Because I want to tell the browser how it should show the content, right? That's the job of head now, to tell the browser how it should show the content. I've written style, so now I will just select span. You don't need to understand this all yet, right? And we are still flowing on what is it that we can achieve, right? I've selected span, Abi. This span that I wrote here, and this span. You know we have two span. Where's the other one? It will affect all the span. What do you want to do? Let's put a color. Let's give it a color. Let's give it a color of blue, right? Let's save it. Currently, I've saved it, Abi. You can now what? Reload. When you reload, all the span will now be what? Blue. So you see, it's a container, right? It will wrap, right? But you are using it to single out of many things. So it will not actually affect the surrounding, but you can affect it. Unlike div is also a wrapper, right? But it's a divider. So div will ask the special condition of what? It will affect the surrounding. That's what div.
But this span, now, you know, the one you did now, you told the head to give
all the span. Anything that is a span.
What if I just want to give just one span?
If I want to give just one span, so I have to separate this span from this span. This span and this span, there's nothing separating, they are just span. So I have to separate this one from this one. And I can do that. So to separate items, to separate this one from this one, or to separate elements, right? We use two things to separate elements, to identify an element. We use an ID. So I will give this span, I will give it a name now. I will say C. So I have known that this one now has an ID of C. What is ID? It's an identity. It means that on this page now, another thing cannot be called C. So there is only one C here. So here now, I can just come now. I can just come here now. I say hash C. There is only one C, small letter C. If you use capital letter C, it will not work. There is only one C, Abi. That one C, I want it to be bold. Size, text size.
I can give you different color.
I can give it different color now. Let's assume I want to give it different color now. Now look at something you are saying. So here now I want to give it brown, right? So if you come here, you reload. You see it's now brown. It's only this one that is brown, right? There is something happening here, that but it's not now, right? Because if I put this one now, if I put it up, it will not work. It will work actually. It will work. Sorry, it will work because of self. No. It will work. It will work because No, yeah, because ID has priority. ID has higher priority. When you give something, so you know now, this one has this span on this line 23. It has what? Two styling. It is this thing is supposed to work on it. This one is supposed to work on it, right? But because you have specifically said I want C, that is why that specificity, we call it the rule of specificity, right? Let me show you. CSS, rule of specificity, right? Once this is it, right? Rule of specificity say that if you apply two style on one element, the one that is the most specific, which is the one that is most specific, the ID is most specific, abi, is the one that will apply first before the generic one. That's what we call the rule of specificity. We have not entered here first, right? So we can come back, right? So because this ID is much more specific than the span, right? That is why it is what? Taking shape. Do you get? So I said there are two ways for us to what? To specify an element, to identify, to select an element, to differentiate one element from another element, right?
Yeah.
One is what? ID. The other one is called class. Class. Right? Now, ID is only for what? One element. You cannot have one element. You cannot have two ID with the same name. It is not possible. Right? It is not possible. Once you say this thing is an ID, another person cannot have, another element cannot have that ID. But it is possible. In class, that is why we now have class. What if you want a style on an element and you want that same style on another element? Right? You will supply it what? A class. For example, look at here. Are you here? Look at this page. You will see something that are similar. Which one and which one? Create free account, create free account. You see that they have the same style, right? Even though they even have the same content, but it's not relevant here. The issue is what? The same style. Notice now, let's go. I want to show you something. What do you notice about what is happening here? There's content left, content right? Notice the next line. What do you notice here? They just switched it. The picture is here, the text is here, right? Yeah, the what? The media is on the left and the content is on the right. Notice what will happen next. Here, look at here, right? So here now, this is one, this is another one, and this is another one. So this is 1, 2, 3, right? They are using the same styling, right? So if you need to repeat the styling on multiple elements or multiple collections, because this one now, you have to div it. You have to wrap it around the div so that you can know that this one is different from this one. So if you want to div multiple items, right, and you want them to share similar properties or styles, then you have to use a class. So I can class it now. When I class it, I will give it class cc. So here I will come and say .cc. You see, we are doing different things. If it is an ID, identity, I'm using what? Hash, the pound symbol. If it is a class, I'm using what? Dot, the dot symbol, right? If it is just the tag directly, I'm using the name, tag name. I'm just calling the tag name directly, right? This is CSS, right? This is still CSS, and then this is what? HTML. So you see, we are talking, right? We are conversing. We have looked at input, color, date, right? Let's look at some other ones. We can look at
the priority between class and
ID is the most. ID means this. I'm not talking here. This is just this particular one. ID is ID. Then you have class. Then you now go and be going to ID is the most specific one. Obviously, there are ways to calculate it. There is a calculator for it.
What do you do if combine? Can you do combination?
You can combine it now. There is combination now. Look at here now. let's inspect this page. You can combine element now. Look at here. Can you see this place? Look at this element. What do you see here? Can you see the dot? You can see the dot. So they apply dot on this div, Abi. Can you see the class? There is a this div as a class, Abi. You have seen it. Let me select another one. Look at this aside. This aside, can you see the aside? It has an ID. It also has what? Class. Can you see? On one what? Element called what? Aside. Look at this. I think that's all. This one is a ID stuff. So you see, you can combine it. You can put ID and style, right, together. So we should continue a bit. So we have looked at date, right? We have looked at color, isn't it? Sorry. So we can look at password. Now this is one. So when I reload now, can you see the password here? So when you type anything, it will not show. You are typing, right? But it will not show for others. It is what? Password. Right? Now, how will I know that it is password that I'm supposed to enter? So we can put here now, we can put another attribute to hint the user on what to do. So to hint, we use what? Placeholder. Placeholder what? Attribute. Right? We will say enter your password. So the user will know that, this place, they want me to enter password, right? So here, let me select all input. Let me give them a padding of 20 pixel. Let me give them padding left. Okay, don't worry. Let's leave it like that for now. I've saved it, Abi. So now, you know, initially it is empty. When I reload now, what do you notice? Can you see now? You are now saying enter your password here, isn't it? The one that makes it big is because I did this padding stuff. If I did not put that padding stuff, it just be I made it big so that you can clearly see that enter your password. This color is still there. Can you see? It's still normal color. You are flowing. And then our what's it called is still there. It's not changing, right? Now, as you know, as we talked about earlier, browsers render this thing differently. This web page, you know, I've not done anything to it. If I load it in another browser, this thing will not show like this. It will still show all these things, but the styling, the way they will apply it, will be what? Different. You flow with me? Will be what? Different. Are you flowing with me? Let me see. Sorry. 6. Okay. So as you can see, we have a lot more stuff, right? We have password, right? So as we have password, we have email. So in the place of password now, you cannot go and put email, Abi. In the place of email, you cannot put anything but email. If you put anything but email, it will tell you, what are you trying to do? This one is what? File that will allow us to do what? Upload. See? You see how to upload. Now you see it's pretty much straightforward. This one is what? Email, Abi. So I will say enter your what? Email. So we have password. So what are we look at? Let's look at range, right? Let's look at range. Range should take an extra attribute. I'm coming. Range should take an extra attribute of step. It should take a start. Let me check it. So range slider, right? HTML. It takes some things. It takes an extra, what is it called? Input type range, Abi. Yeah. There is another attribute you're supposed to take that will tell us, this is what it's to. This is the range. Can you see? So you can start it. You can start it that what is the minimum and the maximum. You can also tell it the step. So here I shall know. You will tell it the step. Let's say 5, right? So if I say the minimum should be 0, right? The minimum should be 0. So if I say the minimum should be 0 and it should step by 5, that means if I move it 0, the next one will be what? 5, 10, 15, right? And then the maximum can be what? Maximum can be 100. That means if you get to 100, or maximum can be 70, right? That means you so that way 0 to 70, you can now tweak it. Some people can say between 0 and 10. So the maximum can be 2. The step is what? 10. Between 0 and 10, move, right? 10. So if you come back here on our 1 and then we reload. When you reload, do you see? So the first one will be what? 0, 2, 3 to what? 10, to the maximum of 10. You flow with me?
Yeah. So that if you not put that step to flow normally.
To just no, if you, no, it will not flow normally. It has a default value.
What I'm saying is that if you not put that steps, it will go from 0,
No.
1, 2.
Yeah. If I don't, yeah, I think the default is 10. So if I do it like this and I reload, can you see it's longer? Can you see it's longer now? So now this is your enter your email. Imagine now, look at now. If I not enter my email, maybe I just enter and I move on. I cannot submit this form. It will call me back and say, you must put at gmail.com, at something.com, right? It will call me back. You flow with me? Yeah, so, and it is different from what? Password. Next thing is what? File. This one, file, right? This file to take special attributes, right? So, but now, when I click on choose your file, you have seen it now, they will say upload, right? This is what they are using. Can you see it's pretty straightforward? When I click it now, it will try to reach my system and want me to what? Upload, right? But I can click on anything, see? I can click on anything. What if it's only picture that I want? And the person go and select video, right? Or what if it's video I actually want? I don't want pictures, or it is PDF I want. Or on Jamb, if you know Jamb website will say upload a picture that is not larger than 500 kilobytes. Have you seen it before? So that if they want you to upload 500, you not go and upload 1 kilobyte, I'll be 1 megabyte, I'll be 1 gig, right? So you see that in a form, when you are collecting a file, it is important that what you set the type of file that the person can upload, you set the size that the person can upload, right?
Yeah.
So here now, currently it is what? Generic. It is anything that you can upload, right? Let's close it. Let's come here. So let's say input type what? Range, Abi. Let's find input, right? So input of type what? File. If this is file, we can now see, the, what's it called? The attributes, right? So it will accept. What are the things that it will accept? One or more unique file type specifiers describing in the following, right? So we have known that it will accept. So the attribute it will accept is what? Accept, right? So what will it accept? They have given us the things that it can accept. So if I put here accept/image .pdf, right? So if I put here .pdf, it means it's the only thing you can accept is what? PDF. So let's come back here and reload. It means I cannot just upload anything now, only PDF. Nothing. Can you see it has automatically disabled every other thing? If it's not PDF, you cannot select it. So you can check here again. What else? Video. If it's image, what kind of image? Right? Look at here now. They said it is image. Now they did not specify whether it's JPEG or PNG. That is why they put star.
Any form of image.
That is why they put star. This asterisk is telling you that any image. So here I can remove this image. You know here now is image, any image or what? PDF. Here I can say I don't want PDF now again, Abi. I want image. I want image. And the image should be what? Any image currently. Let's do any image currently. So when I come here and then I reload and then I select, what will you see? It can allow me to upload image. But I don't want just any image. I want to leave JPEGs. So here I can do JPG. I will reload again and then I come here. Now, can you see it's only JPEG that is not allowing me now? Can you see only JPEG? Every other thing is now what? Remote. You are flowing with me?
Yeah.
So this is how we are able to build websites. In this section, we are just introducing you to what are the possibilities of what you can build. You flow with me? what are the possibilities of what we can build. This is where we are going to end our session for today, where we are going to just talk about introduction to HTML and CSS, right? Like an introduction to web development, practically, right? This is like our first class, isn't it?
Yes.
So in the next class, so let me just summarize. We have talked about HTML. We have talked about the fact that HTML is divided into two sections, the header and the body. The header is used to what? To inform or instruct the browser on how the browser should read the web page. There are still many things that you can inform it. Like we said, you can tell it about the kind of language that you can write. You can tell it about the restriction, how it should render on big screen, on small screen. You can do all those ones here, right? And then what you will now see, so this one will instruct, Abi, but what should it actually show? The body, right? And how do we write HTML? We say we write HTML by having a what? An opening tag and a what? And a closing tag. You're with me? An opening tag and a closing tag. And then our body, right? You can now have several tags. So we look at the heading tag, right? And then we look at all the other heading tags, H1 to what? H6. Then we look at the paragraph tag, that is what? A block line element, meaning that what? Stuff cannot be before or after it, right? Block line, isn't it? So to make it block line, some, as we said, some are inline, some are what? Block line, block style tags. So image, as we saw, is not block, is inline. Span is not block, is inline. Div is a wrapper, that is what? Block. And then we'll now look at some of the inputs. There are still far more things that we can look at. Where we are going to end our session for today. In later class, we will now delve directly into more HTML tags, right? More more CSS, and then we'll now look at JavaScript and what JavaScript has to offer us, right? Okay. Any questions so far?